Now we go to the last race before the lunch break. It's race 9 out of 25, Heat 4, Senior Rotax, Group C and D. Let's take you through the starting order. It's an all-British front row with Ethan Jeff Hall and Sean Butcher lining up alongside each other. Kai Hillitz and Vic Stevens on row 2 with Zombra Kovac and Archie Walker row 3. Colin Vajny and Orlan Lemohay ran at the top 4 rows with Devian Prost and Jan Pinto completing the top 10. Anja Levar, Frederik Zebis Christensen row 6. Dion van Werven and Montego Masson running at the top 7 rows. Arthur Robin and Mathis Karnijak row 8. Kaz Boshaus and Kamal Murad ran at the top 9 rows with Leon Zelenko and Austria's Daniel Halsworth running at the top 20. Rafael Jesus, Sverre Ubben, Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort, Scott Westhovens, Andrea Kostic, Puck Gubbles, Nicky Gauci, Jaren Schultz, Stephanie Hobecker and Frederick Demant round out the 30-strong grid. So the drivers get themselves steeled and readied as they exit into the tram lines. Revs rise. Are we ready? Are we steady? Lights out. We are racing. Good start by the pole sitter, Ethan Jeff Hall. Sean Butcher trying to keep it pinned round the outside to keep a hold of second position. Can use the runoff area to avoid any incidents. He manages to keep in front of Kai Hillitz as there's 3-4 carts going through the running order. As Arthur Robin has a little bit of an off-track excursion. Oh, and a big hit and backwards. Oh, well, that was a very, very lucky escape. That was Mathis Karnijak into the back, into the side of Kamal Murad. There is someone who's got a back axle that is bent significantly, and that driver is not going anywhere soon at all. Kamal Murad was very, very lucky indeed. So he got out of the way, he got out of the car, he's got out unassisted. I am so happy to see that, but there is a yellow flag at Marshall post number 3. So there will be no overtaking. Marshalling crew here, as always, trying to get things done as quickly as possible. But that was a very, very hard hit. So Karnijak was backwards. I'm not too sure if he might have gotten a bit of an assistance coming out of turn number 5. And that was at a big rate of speed as well. But Ethan Jeff Hall is in the lead of the race. Kai Hillitz in second. Third, it is Sean Butcher. And now Hillitz goes for the lead through turn 10, and the Belgian gets through. Butcher is in third. Fourth is Vic Stevens. Zombra Kovac rounds out the top 5. As now Stevens looks up the inside of Sean Butcher, who has a couple of looks over his right shoulder, sees the likes of Kovac and Vajny not too far behind. Maybe even that's Archie Walker. As now Hillitz trying to battle away as Vic Stevens takes the perfect opportunity through turn number 3 to take second position away from Ethan Jeff Hall. So there is a bit of a train forming behind Vic Stevens. as they make their way through into turn number 8 once again. But Gilles has got a 3 to 4 kart length lead. So Gilles leads the field as they come round the final corner to complete lap number 3. Second is Vic Stevens. Then it's Sean Butcher, Ethan Jeff Hall, Zsombor Kovac, Archie Walker, Colin Vajny, Nolan Lemare, Frederick Zebis Christensen and Devian Horst from the Netherlands rounding out the top 10 positions. Jan Pinto's dropped to 13th place behind the likes of Dion van Werven and Daniel Houseworth. In the meantime, Sean Butcher has managed to get through on Vic Stevens through turn 6. Back up into second position goes the London-based driver. Gilles has got a lead that he can definitely control quite comfortably. But he's still got under 6.5 minutes of this race still to go. But Gilles' lead is still around 5.5 tenths of a second. A little bit further back, there is some battling happening with the likes of Kaz Boshaus and Andrija Kostic. They are battling away over what is 14th and 15th behind Israel's Jan Pinto. There's a train starting to lengthen behind Ethan Jeff Hall as Archie Walker has got himself up into 5th position ahead of Zsombor Kovac from Hungary. Gilles still leads the way. Gap was 0.561 after 4 laps. After lap 5, it's now just over 3.5 tenths. So we're past the halfway point of this race, where Gilles still continues to lead, but Butcher and Stevens are still giving chase. Antigo Massa now up into 24th position. Scott Westhoven's now down into 22nd. Some good work from Stephanie Hobeker from Lebanon. She's made her way up into 23rd position in the 908, running with Dan Holland Racing this weekend. There is a definitive scrap happening for 4th place at the moment. Ethan Jeff Hall is leading that. Archie Walker is about 2 to 3 kart lengths behind going into the braking zone for turn number 6. A bit further behind that, you've got the likes of Nolan Lemare battling away with Devian Horst, Dion van Werven and Daniel Houseworth. Gilles still controlling the race as it stands as we go into the last 3.5 minutes, plus an additional lap. He's extended a slight lead over Butcher to just over 4 tenths. Gilles also has he did have the fastest lap of the race, but that has just been done by the driver in 7th position. 54.898 by Frederick Zebis Christensen from Denmark in the 902. As, a little bit of a slight moment there for Archie Walker. And Zsombor Kovac has gotten through. Maybe even Frederick Zebis Christensen has just gotten through as well, as they make their way through into turn number 8. Leaders making their way through into turn 11 once again. Significant amount of rubber pickup on the outside of turn number 11. Coming down into turn 12. Hillets again with the fastest lap of the race, 54.863 for the 16-year-old base set of Tremolo, not too far from this circuit. Gap now 0.483 seconds between him and Butcher. Vic Stevens in third place, Ethan Jeff Hall, Zsombor Kovac. Fredrik Zebis Christensen did also get past Archie Walker, the 16-year-old in the 391 entry, based out of Billericay in Essex. Devin Ross, Nolan Lemarais ran at the top 9 with Colin Ważny, the youngster from Poland, completing the top 10. Sverre Ubben now up into 15th position. Arthur Robin now up to 16th. Montego Masson up to 21st. Past Malta's Nicky Gauci and Montego Masson, now Rafael Jesus now up another position up into P23. Minute and 40 still to go on the clock. Gap has stabilised between first and second position to just under half a second. To the closing stages, Sean Butcher is having to fend off the advances of Belgium's Vic Stevens in the 369. He's shown good account of himself today. So, youngest driver in this class. You're probably looking at, there's an 18-year difference between the youngest driver and the oldest driver in this field. So with 30 seconds remaining on the timer, Vic Stevens now trying to really ramp up the pressure on Sean Butcher. Coming out of turn number 6, Butcher goes on the defensive. Stevens looks one way, then the other. Gives him the old dummy, does Vic Stevens, and up the inside he goes on Sean Butcher. Through turn 7 for P3. Ethan Jeff Hall is also there now. We are going to have one more lap after this one, as Vic Stevens snakes under braking, going through into turn 10, nearly opening the door for Sean Butcher. But Rillertz is making his way through the 12th and final turn. And now Ethan Jeff Hall goes round towards the outside of turn 12 to get the undercut on Sean Butcher. He's going to get through out of the final corner to take P3. One more lap remains, and the battle for second position is really heating up, because it's not just 3 drivers, it's 5. Zsombor Kovac and Fredrik Zebis Christensen have now joined the fray. Archie Walker isn't far off of this either. So one wrong move from one driver could cause an absolute drama for them in the latter stages of this race. Through turn 7 for the final time they go. As Rillertz is pulling away, that's a comfortable lead. That's more than comfortable. And now Vic Stevens goes defensive on Ethan Jeff Hall. Sean Butcher waiting for an opportunity, so is Zsombor Kovac. Now there's going to be a flood of karts. Behind Archie Walker, there's also Devin Ross, but out of the final corner, Rillertz is going to take the win. Who's going to get second? It could be a run to the line. It's going to be Vic Stevens. Vic Stevens, by 41 thousandths of a second, secures a second place finish ahead of Ethan Jeff Hall. Sean Butcher takes 4th. Zsombor Kovac takes 5th position, with Fredrik Zebis Christensen in 6th, Archie Walker in 7th, Devin Ross, Nolan Lemarais and Dion van Werven rounding out the top 10. Daniel Housworth, Colin Ważny, Kaz Boshouse, Sverre Ubben, Jan Pinto round out the top 15. Arthur Robin, Leon Zelenko, Montego Masson, Andrea Kostic and Jarin Schultz rounding out the top 20. Rafael Jesus, Nicky Gauci, Scott Westhovens, Anya Levar, Stephanie Hobeker, Puck Gubbles and Frederick Demont round out the top 27 finishers. On lap 1, we lost Mathis Kanajak, Kamal Murad and Brandon Klein-Nagelvoort. So with 3 senior Rotax heats completed, we got underway, lights out and racing for heat 4 of the day. And it was a good start by Ethan Jeff Hall from pole position, as Sean Butcher tried to keep it pinned round the outside of turn number 2 on Hall, on Rillerts, and having to use the runoff area to try and make his way through. Butcher would retain second, but then this big hit, Matis Karnijak, going into the side of Kamal Mrad from Australia, who was thrown clear off of the racing seat and scrambled out of the cart and out of harm's way. Both drivers unassisted, walking under their own steam. Rillerts would then take the lead very shortly after, getting past Ethan Jeff Hall with Sean Butcher and Vic Stevens in close proximity. Stevens would then thread the eye of the needle going through the final corner, getting past Sean Butcher for third place, as Zombor Kovac and Archie Walker were closing in on them rather rapidly. Rillerts would have to swing wide to go defensive on Ethan Jeff Hall, who then found he opened the door for Vic Stevens to get through for second position, and nearly had Sean Butcher through on the inside of him through turn number 4. Also, action happening up and down the order, especially with the likes of Scott Westhovens and also the 389 of Yanin Schultz from Israel, amongst others. Ethan Jeff Hall would also try and get one up on Sean Butcher later on in the race, swinging to the outside of the current reigning and defending champion through into turn number 3. And once again, he got that through, bumped over the curbs, went side by side and managed to get through. But whilst they were squabbling behind, Kai Rillerts comfortably won heat number 4. And it was a run to the line with 41 thousandths separating second from third, as Vic Stevens would take second, Ethan Jeff Hall would take third, and rounding out the top 5 would be Sean Butcher and Zombor Kovac.